Hello wrestling fans, the Wrestling Wizard here and welcome to another video. Now of course the big question everybody's asking, who is Uncle Howdy? Who is playing Uncle Howdy, and was that even Uncle Howdy this week? And I say that because a couple of weeks ago we saw somebody in a mask, a full mask, identical to the version of Uncle Howdy we've seen on our screens, referring to himself as the ghost of the man who sold the world, and we assumed that was Uncle Howdy. And to make things really confusing, WWE socials have referred to both versions as Uncle Howdy. And it's no wonder, of course, we're slowly turning into Regan from The Exorcist, trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle together. Now I truly believe that this version of Uncle Howdy, the one that we saw this week, is the full, finished, physical Uncle Howdy reveal. And I believe that because if you go all the way back to the first Uncle Howdy teaser, this image came up on the screen. And then remember, there was a zoom in to this crown of thorns, which we'll come on to in a moment. And also he literally said Howdy. Now that version of Howdy, minus the dreadlocks, links up with the version of Uncle Howdy we've seen this week, with the half mask, the sort of mouth, sort of goatee area exposed. And this is the version we saw this week on SmackDown, the person that attacked Bray Wyatt with a vicious Sister Abigail. A really clean one, by the way, which makes me think for 100% certainty that this is a professional wrestler playing this version of Howdy. Now, of course, that brings up the question, how can that be Uncle Howdy if we saw somebody else portraying Uncle Howdy a couple of weeks ago? Now, I think this is where WWE have put a little bit of a supernatural entertainment spin on things. And the version of Uncle Howdy we saw a couple of weeks ago was implied to be the ghost of Uncle Howdy. The ghost version of Uncle Howdy, Bray's darkest thoughts, the person we keep seeing on the screen. The fact that they artificially layered, I suppose, in a way, the sound effects over the top, the laughter sound effects, which, by the way, was the same laughter that we heard in the Funhouse before we got the official Fiend reveal. So in a way, they've already altered reality. If that was a real person, you'd hear real laughter. So I don't believe we will see this version of Uncle Howdy ever again. I mean, he's not going to be able to wrestle. He's not really going to be able to talk and cut promos, is he, like that? Maybe we see him pop up from time to time, but think about it logistically. That version of Howdy will probably pass out in the arena of heat exhaustion, like in that mask. Like, there's no way that has got any longevity. But the version we saw this week definitely has. The fact that it seems like polished presentation with the attire, the general presentation, the theme, the way he came down to the ring with all these Fiend mannerisms as well. That definitely feels like the polished Uncle Howdy. Now, who I believe is playing that, I can't unsee anybody other than Bo Dallas. And I keep going back to the lyrics within Bray's theme. Lie for me, brother. Use me for cover. And if you think about this whole storyline in Uncle Howdy and Bray Wyatt, Uncle Howdy constantly mentions the fact that he knows all of Bray's darkest thoughts, that Bray is a liar. So is he using his brother to do the dirty work for him? And we can't ignore the fact that we've seen those dreadlocks, because that could well be subtly referencing the fact that Bray Wyatt is Uncle Howdy after all, and this is one big lie, and he's getting other characters to portray Uncle Howdy to make it look like he's the innocent one and he is just following the circle and just being the servant. If we look at the build as well, Bo Dallas being 6'1", Bray 6'3", it kind of matches up, both slightly more slender, so that kind of links up too. And obviously the obvious fact that Bray Wyatt, away from kayfabe, has made it quite clear that he wants to work with his brother. And talk about things coming full circle. What would come full circle any better than working with his brother once more? Of course, flashbacks to the FCW days when they were a tag team. So to work together and include Bo Dallas in this storyline would surely be Bray Wyatt's dream. Now, he also wants to work with Eric Rowan again as well, and we'll come on to that in a moment. But I honestly feel that Uncle Howdy, the ghost of the man who sold the world, is actually Bray's darkest thoughts, and he is making LA Knight. And all of us believe that he is not Uncle Howdy because somebody else is playing Uncle Howdy, right? That's somebody else potentially being his brother, and maybe he took a Sister Abigail to prove that point to LA Knight. Now, of course, you've got to look at the flip side of things. what if Uncle Howdy is the ghost of the Fiend? Look at all the mannerisms, the way that he came down to the ring, the slow methodic walk, the way that he popped the hat, the top hat with the crown of thorns on the apron, very similar to the way the Fiend used to put the lantern on the apron. The mask with the smile was very Fiend-esque as well. And of course the black trench coat as well, very similar to the Fiend. Even the way he holds his jacket, like there's so many Fiend teases. So what if Howdy's sole mission is to get the Fiend out of Bray Wyatt, and the ghost of Bray's darker thoughts that he can't control is now transferred into physical form, and the host is Bo Dallas, and over time maybe we get Uncle Howdy versus Bray Wyatt because he wants the Fiend. Maybe Uncle Howdy wants the darkness out of Alexa Bliss too, and he wants Alexa Bliss to embrace the darkness, and maybe he goes after her. I don't think he's going to attack her. I think he'll distract her potentially on this week's episode of Raw. It's so juicy because Uncle Howdy is literally wearing a hat with a crown of thorns. We saw Alexa Bliss wearing a crown of thorns when she betrayed the Fiend at WrestleMania 37. Howdy mentioned the Fiend as well several weeks ago, saying you sent him away. He wants Bray Wyatt to become the Fiend, to wear a mask. The dark side always wins, right? So maybe Uncle Howdy, if he's perceived to be the ghost of Bray's darker thoughts, will eventually win, with the host being, currently right now, Bo Dallas. And he uses his brother to get through to him. Of course, it could all be a swerve, and Bray Wyatt could actually be the biggest liar in the world, and Howdy was right all along, that Bray was playing us all for fools, and that a snake in a cage is still a snake. Now, I can't help but think back to a couple of weeks ago when we saw LA Knight replaying the footage of the mask attacks. Now, none of those masks were Uncle Howdy, as in the version we saw this week. But also, there was some manipulation with those images. They got distorted. There was this like infrared lighting. And there were multiple flashes to different versions of a mask. Now, if you think about it, we've seen the Uncle Howdy mask with green eyes, with red eyes, with blue eyes, and then we've seen actually Uncle Howdy himself. So what if Uncle Howdy can just take on various forms depending on the emotions? But there are multiple masks. We've got to bear that in mind. What if Eric Rowan is behind one of the other masks? What if Bray Wyatt, wearing the Uncle Howdy mask, because we know he's done that, we saw that at Extreme Rules, is the man behind all the attacks, and then he is trying to manipulate us via this current version of Uncle Howdy that we've seen? There's so many questions. I think we're going to get loads of answers, of course, in the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match at this year's Royal Rumble when Bray Wyatt goes head to head with LA Knight. But don't be fooled in a way. I really feel that those lyrics, I am the ghost in the machine, the Bray Wyatt, the darker side of Bray Wyatt is the one pulling all the strings here. In the end, we're just going to be played for absolute fools. But I'm loving the swerves. I'm loving the teases. This storyline absolutely kicks ass. But yes, I believe that's Bo Dallas. And yes, I believe that's the physical Uncle Howdy we saw this week. Thank you so much for watching the video. As always, be really appreciative if you could get down in the comment sections, share your thoughts and opinions. And of course, even better, like the video, share the video. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button as well. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you in the next one.